It is a great day to be alive, and I am so thankful for God, Jesus Christ, who lives in us. In today's video, titled Signs of Coming War and Market Crash, I'm going to be jumping right back in to where we left off in the last video. If you have not seen that last video, it is titled Ripple and SEC Alternative Resolution and Timeline Updates. I don't want to waste too much time going back over all of the details in the last video. You would have to go back and watch it to get an understanding of what is being shared in this particular video. But basically in that video, I was going back to take a look at one dream in particular, trying to understand fully the message that God is trying to convey as it relates to the date of October 17th and the coming fourth quarter market crash. God has been revealing much to us so far as the dates that we have been praying over. Our biggest focus has been on this fourth quarter market crash. However, in the process, God has been shedding light on major news as it relates to war and specific cryptocurrencies like XRP and Lunic. With XRP and Lunic, God has been expressing how these two coins are connected to specific dreams. And we're beginning to see how they are lining up with these dates that we are praying over. All in all, what God has been showing me about this market crash timeline is that it mainly has to do with war over in the Middle East, the Israel war to be specific. But there are also hints of the Ukraine and Russia war as well. But for the most part, he's mainly showing me Israel. So this timeline is about war. It is about the coming market crash, and it is also about cryptocurrencies. So much is being revealed. We have to just allow God to reveal as he desires. We must keep the faith and continue to pray and let God lead. In that last video, I was also making a connection with a particular date that we have been praying about, the date of November the 4th. I shared that in that dream, God had shown me specific things like the beginning of the dollar collapse, the going away of national banking, and something about international banking, and how I understood that God was showing me that this was going to take place the first week of November. And as much as I would like to go back and see my birthday on that calendar to see what day of the week my birthday was on, all I know is that I feel that God is leading me to understand that all these things are going to take place the first week of November. Is it this year? Is it next year? I stated in that particular video that I wasn't sure. However, my faith is always in the now, in this season. However, the first week of November has come and gone. And so now we're looking forward to next year. At the same time, we must also keep in mind that sometimes we don't get the news until it's too late. So things could be going on behind the scenes that took place on the 4th that we don't know about, but only time will tell. Also on the 4th, there was news that I was waiting to hear about as it relates to XRP and if they and the SEC had come up with an alternative resolution as far as this case with Ripple. I have not heard anything as far as that, any news on that. If anybody has, please share. I would like to know how that all turned out. Again, a lot of times we don't find out about things until it's too late. News come out a week later. So as faithful believers and followers of Christ, we have to watch as well as pray. In this video, I'm going to be sharing some new findings and a new dream and sharing a connection that I've seen as it relates to an old dream, the old Bruno dream, how it's all beginning to kind of come together. Praise God when I see him in the details. I love how he's allowed this process to move along, and along the way, it is restoring my faith as well as building it. So as much as I would like for him to hold up the answer as to when this fourth quarter market crash is going to take place, I also know that sometimes this process is all about building our faith and putting us and getting us to a place where he desires for us to be before he allows what we're waiting on to happen to occur. So now I want to get started and get into the video, and I want to start by first presenting the first new piece of information, and then I'm going to follow that with this new red and yellow dream timeline that I put together. It just kind of came to me to do it. I know it was the leading of the Holy Spirit. First, before I show that, I want to just make a note here that I showed this before, the yellow and red dream list, and I showed how I saw an alternating pattern of the 27th and the 11th. Different month, same number, and it just alternated throughout the times I was having these dreams. The 27th, and this is actually in order, the 27th, 11th, 27th, and 11th. And all of these dreams had something to do with both yellow and red. I was seeing yellow and red in each of these dreams. And of course, you have to name the ball pit dream, the key dream, the banana dream, me inquiring about the October 17th date. And that goes back to the ball pit because that date was on all of the red and yellow balls. And then lastly was the Rubik's Cube dream. I did not think to even include this until I began to begin this timeline. And I'm looking, I'm like, in the Rubik's Cube dream, there was the colors of red and yellow that I put together to get a number of 100. And so I had to add that to the list. And of course, looking at it, it automatically fell in line with the next alternating number, the 27th. And so again, God is revealing something here. I'm still trying to understand where it is all going. But July 27th, the Rubik's Cube dream should have been on this particular list, and I'm going to come back to this list in a moment. Now let's get to the red and yellow dream timeline. And so looking at this timeline, I have the table titled with the titles here: dream date, date given in a dream, when the count will start, and when the count will end. And we're starting with the very first dream on our list here, September 27th, when I had the October 17th dream. Now this will be slightly different because I was given instructions on how to do this particular count back then. There was a number that was connected to this October 17th date that I had to follow through as God had instructed. And so here I was doing 177 days, but I am just including that 100 days for this red and yellow dream. I'm including that with this 177 day count. And so 177 days, including that 100 days, it ended on April the 11th. On April the 11th, I had the red and yellow key dream. Here I was given another date. This date was given in the tether dream, which was on the 10th. However, on the 11th, I had a dream about this dream, me sharing with someone that I had a dream about the tether swing, and God was showing me, I was giving them the interpretation of what God had given me in this particular dream. And so here I'm starting this 100-day red and yellow key count on April the 18th. So 100 days from April the 18th would be July 27th. On July 27th, I had another red and yellow dream, and that was the Rubik's dream, the one that did not make it on the yellow and red dream list in the last video. And so 100 days from July 27th would bring us to November the 4th. Not a coincidence that me putting together this table, not knowing how it was going to flow, just dropping those 100 days as it correlates with what God has told me, that red and yellow correlates with 100 days based on the numbers that he has given me. But as I begin to put this yellow and red dream timeline together, I began to see, wow, it's just amazing how when one thing ends, another one starts. And this has been the pattern throughout the original timeline, market crash timeline. But here I'm also seeing it as it relates to these dreams. So now I'm just kind of moving from a broad perspective to a more narrow perspective. And even as I do that, I'm still seeing when one yellow dream ends, as far as the count, another yellow and red dream begins. And so again, this is not a coincidence. Now, if you look at all of the yellow and red dreams that have green checks, there are 2 dreams on this list that did not get one. And this is what the bulk of this video is going to be about, these 2 dreams. So my question was, well, why is it that these 2 dreams got skipped? Why were these 2 dreams skipped and not included? And that is the banana dream, and it is also the dream about me inquiring about the October 17th date. My next question is, where do we go from here as far as the November 4th date? That is where this red and yellow dream timeline leaves off. That is where we left off in our last video. One door closing, another door opening. I showed this particular slide or something similar to this in the last video, and I was talking about the alternating dates, and we were trying to figure out the Bruno dream and why I was seeing these two red and yellow pie charts. And so what I did originally was I just paired them. I put one pie chart, red and yellow, with these particular dates. In the end, that was just kind of an idea as to why I was seeing two pie charts in this Bruno dream. But what happens now is that because there's a July 27th date, the Rubik's Cube dream is added. It doesn't make sense because there's not a third pie to begin with this date. There were only two. So here I see this idea of what these two pies could have represented. I see that door closing and I see another door opening. So God is helping me to narrow down all these things. Again, had I thought about this Rubik's dream as being a yellow and red dream, I would have added it to the list back then, but it didn't work out that way. Very quickly, going back to this yellow and red dream timeline, if we take a look at the Bruno dream and how it was set up, we had the two pie charts. If you follow the colors and the numbers that each represents, you get 100 days for one pie and 100 days for the other pie. If I count backwards 200 days from November the 4th, we end up getting April the 18th. So what am I seeing here? I'm seeing that October 17th is not included. What happened on October 17th as we waited for the particular date to roll around? Nothing happened as far as the market crash. So I'm wondering still, does God want me to separate this date from these colors? In other words, does October 17th represent something else that's connected to these colors, that's connected to this market crash, that's connected to war? Because so far, October 17th has, last year, it was about war. Something happened there was something major happened with war. On the 17th of this year, something very major happened with war as it relates to Israel. So like I stated in the last video, it's almost as if I have to come to grips with the fact that October 17th, this is an important date. It represents something, but I need to separate it and look at it as two things. And that's where I'm kind of headed now in my thinking with this. So really quickly, looking at the Bruno dream, we see that Bruno, his birthday is on August the 19th, the same day that the Blue Moon event took place. We obviously see the red and yellow. Red and yellow is equal to market crash, and it is connected to, that's how I'm going to say it now, October 17th date. Also, August the 19th, our calendar date is the same as August the 6th, the Julian calendar date. So knowing all of this, I'm going to now share my new dream, and it's extremely quick. I was actually waking up, and as I was waking up, I saw a single red and yellow pie chart with the date of August the 6th written on top of it. At the bottom below, I saw three letters, and I can only remember what the first letter was. I think I remember what the last letter was, but I am totally sure about the first letter. The first letter was a P, and these letters were written in a weird font. And that was basically it. I had this dream on October the 31st. As far as those three letters, I understood in the dream that they were an acronym that stood for something that had to do with monthly economic data. So I released my last video on October the 31st. I purposely did not mention what was going on in the market. Things were dropping. At the end of the day, it was said that billions was pulled from the market. And I purposely didn't talk about what was happening during that time. I do believe that there was something that had to do with some economic data that came out that particular day. And I just didn't feel in my spirit that this is the market crash that's happening today. I really didn't feel that way. However, I prayed about it. Whatever the Lord's will be, let it be done. And as far as this dream, I had this dream that morning, but I didn't have time to dwell on it, to pray about it, because of the short time period that I had on that particular day to even sit down and to even think about it, and then to try and, finish the video and put everything out. And so I needed more time. I needed more time to put things together. And I'm saying, okay, Lord, now I've already had the Bruno dream with these red and yellow pies, and now you're showing me another dream with a single pie. I haven't even figured out the first one yet. Like, I'm still trying to process everything. So, this, Lord, please help me to catch up and help me to understand if I'm kind of falling behind or lagging behind. But, I'm really trying to understand where all this is going. So I began to line things up this way. I said, God, is this you giving me a hint that this the first pie chart from the Bruno dream that was not labeled, that this new August 6th pie chart that I saw in this dream is this particular chart, that one. Should I label the first pie chart August the 6th, and then the second pie chart is going to be labeled Bruno? And so that's where I pretty much started with trying to understand this particular dream, putting it together with the Bruno dream. Obviously, they're supposed to go together. It seems obvious to me. And so that's what I did. And next, I began to add to each pie chart what I knew. So the first thought was, God, are you confirming what you told me in that dream a while back, that the market is going to crash in the third and fourth quarter? So I labeled one pie chart third quarter, the other pie chart fourth quarter. Of course, the colors represents 100 days. And so there I have 100 days listed under each pie chart. On the August 6th pie chart, I put the date of August 6th because that was the Japan market crash. And then both get the blue moon because August 6th is equal to August the 19th. They're, in a sense, they have birthdays on the same day if you're looking at our calendar and the Julian calendar at the same time. August 6th is the same as August the 19th. And so that is how I went about labeling both of these pie charts. And so far, things made sense. From the last video, I shared various diagrams based on a dream that I had, and I began to label the diagrams. And so here I kind of pulled that particular diagram to put it together with these two pie charts. And as you look at the diagram, the two blue eggs and the blue moon, of course, the blue moon represents their birthdays. Two events happening on the same day. In other words, both of their birthdays happening on the same day. And it falls in line with the two scenarios that will determine when a blue moon will occur. And this year, the blue moon occurred on their birthdays. So I went ahead and I labeled underneath each pie chart 40 days because blue represents 40 days. And so here is where I am going to begin to tie in those two red and yellow dreams that were skipped. I'm going to show you what I feel God is revealing to me as far as why these two dates were skipped. And I believe that God allowed this to happen so I can recognize this and to bring my attention back to these specific dreams, what happened in these dreams, what revelations and interpretations he gave me from these dreams, and to also drive home this next point that I also observed. So first, I separated the two pies. This pie is for Bernard. This pie is for the first market crash. And so what I did was on the right side, I labeled it August the 6th. And I began to just count my days, 40 days, that represents the blue egg. The 40 days in yellow represents the yellow from the pie chart. And the 60 days in red represents the red from the pie chart. And what I did was, because the blue 40 days and the yellow 40 days would yield the same date, I decided to go backwards, to subtract. So I subtract blue 40 days from August the 6th, and June 27th popped out. June 27th is the day I had the banana dream. Moving down to the 40 yellow days, 40 days from August the 6th would be September the 15th, and 60 days from August the 6th would be November the 14th. Before moving forward, I want to take a pause here to remind you guys how God showed me that this market crash timeline was mainly about war. In the beginning, he was working with me with the colors of blue and yellow. And so I inquired of the Lord, why blue and yellow? And one day I happened to see a blue and yellow chair together, and it kind of stirred in my spirit that you need to kind of pray a little bit more about it. And as I began to pray, God showed me the Ukrainian flag. And from that point moving forward, I have understood that this timeline has to do with war, not the Ukraine war specifically, but just war. Okay. And then the second time this happened was in July. I saw my kids' red and yellow chairs together. I was already thinking about red and yellow because of what was happening before July the 10th when I saw these two chairs together. This was confirmation. And because he had dealt with me before with the red and with the blue and yellow, I understood what he was trying to do. He was nudging me to kind of look more into this red and yellow again. And so my thoughts back then was China. So what were those other things that were red and yellow leading up to the day that I saw these two chairs together, this red and yellow chair together? Well, on July 8th, I was July 8th was the last day in a particular count on the timeline, and I knew that night I was supposed to have a dream. And so before I went to bed, I read something about China kicking off a joint exercise in Belarus, opposite of NATO's eastern border. So NATO was having something going on during that time, and China was deploying their troops to go in to do this particular exercise. And all this would take place near Poland, Ukraine. Now I have been brought to seeing this article, and I'm thinking to myself, why is China sending their troops over near Poland, Ukraine to do training? And so my thoughts are what we see now with North Korea going over into Ukraine, fighting against Ukraine. So this was my thoughts about China back then. Again, this was July the 8th. That night I went to sleep, woke up on July 9th, and I had the dream that the markets are going to crash in the third and fourth quarter. At the same time, I was still having China on my mind, red and yellow, thinking about the flag, because God had been dealing with me a lot with flags as well. And prior to seeing this article about what China was doing, I had the banana dream, the red and yellow banana dream, on June 27th. So all of these things are only a few days apart. And then, of course, we come to the day that I saw the red and yellow chair together. And that was just confirming more of this red and yellow. God wants me to focus on red and yellow for some reason. And so that is why on July 10th, I began to say, okay, God, what is it about this red and yellow that you want me to understand? And then on July the 11th, I had the dream about me inquiring of October 17th. So here we have the banana dream that did not make the timeline chart. And we also have the dream about me inquiring about the October 17th date that did not make the timeline chart. So both of these dreams happened around the same time, and neither one of them made the yellow and red timeline chart. So now I see God putting me in a range, a date range, a range between June 27th, the day that I had the banana dream, and July the 11th, the day that I had the dream about me inquiring about October 17th. So now going back to this outline, again, counting 40 days backwards gave me. Now, what's significant about the banana dream? I shared in a video a long while ago, June 27th, how God showed me about this company, this banana company, Chiquita Banana Company, and how it began in Switzerland. And from there, I was looking at the Switzerland flag. And from there, as it related to the American Red Cross. And so all of this was all about Switzerland and how all this came together with their flag, why their flag has the red cross on it, the white cross on a red flag. This flag is inverted to represent the American Red Cross. And what does the American Red Cross do? Well, some of that has to do with supporting American armed forces and their family. It has to do with helping them to learn life-saving skills and rules of war. It has to do with them going in, finding loved ones that have been lost in war. So a nice chunk of what the Red Cross does has to do with dealing with supporting the military and things dealing with war. And if you look at the mascot, throughout the years, the colors that for the Chiquita Banana Company, you have one that is red and yellow, and you have one that is blue and yellow. Again, those two chairs, one was red, one was yellow, one was blue, and one was yellow. So this was confirmation for me that God had indeed showed me that this blue and yellow represents war. And so now we're moving on to red and yellow, and I feel with all my heart that red and yellow does represent the market crash. What I did not know, and I know now based on what I researched, is that there was a such thing as a banana war. It was a series of military interventions by the United States in Central America and in the Caribbean, again, a long time ago. Because of these series of banana wars, the United States Marine Corps came up with a manual on tactics and strategies for engaging in certain types of military operations. And basically the focus was on small wars. They began to analyze the character and requirements of what a small war, I guess, would look like. So basically they're analyzing small wars. So after learning about the banana wars, I felt led to look at the next day. What dream did I have the next day after this banana dream? It was the Tupac dream. I had a Tupac dream, and in this dream, I saw on this table I'm just going to skip right to that part. I saw on this table a number of items, and there were headphones, there were maybe books, there were also pictures. I saw a picture of Tupac towards the end of this dream, and then I saw this mini plexiglass box. It was kind of frosted, but not so much that you couldn't see in the box. And inside the box was a mini casket, a little white casket, and this little plexiglass box could fit probably in your hand, both hands together. And so I'm looking at it, and on the outside of this box, it was painted. It was painted with red stripes, and it was painted with a blue square with squiggly lines coming down. And to me, it looked like the American flag. And so all of these items would be customized. You pick out whatever you want him to customize, the guy in the dream, and he would just paint anything Tupac. He would customize anything that you wanted on these items. And so I'm looking at this mini casket inside of this plexiglass box, and I'm like, who would want to buy that? Who would want to customize? Who would want to customize that? And so I woke up from this dream, and I began to just pray about it. And what God showed me later on is that this mini casket in this plexiglass box with this American flag on it had to do with war. And what he also showed me was that this flag was backwards. I didn't even realize until I drew it out, and I was putting together a PowerPoint to do a video. And I said, wait a minute, this flag doesn't look right. And I was like, wait a minute, this thing is backwards. And so I looked it up, of course, because that was very different. What does it mean when you see a backwards flag? And it means marching towards war. And so for me, it represented America, the United States of America, that there's going to be some marching towards war. And small war, mini war is what I got from this. Now, going back to what I just found out about the banana war and how from those banana wars, this manual about small wars was put together based on those experiences. It puts me in mind that God is trying to show me something as it relates to the United States being involved in a small war. I do believe that God has showed me that there will be a small war dealing with the U.S., and I'm not sure with who. But if we keep a close eye on the news, we see a few things. As it relates to red and yellow, we know everything that's going on with China and the possible invasion of Taiwan. We know that Taiwan is not a part of NATO. However, they do have certain ties with the United States. So if something was to happen over in Taiwan, then the United States would have to get involved, as far as I understand. I could be wrong. If I am, please correct me. Also, I saw this article that talks about Biden having, only a few days to help Ukraine, being that Trump is coming back, has been reelected to come back to the White House as our president. We have heard a lot of things in the news as to him not supporting Ukraine, blah, blah, blah. The president of Ukraine is needing those long-range missiles. He's needing something to kind of help, battle with North Korea and Russia now, because North Korea is actually fighting with them. And so it makes you wonder, will Biden make a move now that Russia's made a move with partnering with North Korea? Will they allow them to use those long-range missiles? And it's been said by Putin that if you do, then that's automatically, that's this war between us and them. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing has to do with Iran. We've seen that, I don't know what day it was on. It could have been, I don't want to say, I don't know if it was the 6th or the 7th. I don't want to say, 'cause I'm not sure. But it was said that some documents had been opened or released, basically showing proof that Iran was behind the first assassination attempt with Trump. And for that reason, now they're asking the question, is this an act of war? Biden administration is under pressure to respond to Iran's plot to kill Trump. And I guess Blinken and Biden had said at one point before they unsealed these documents that if any attempt by the IRGC to actually harm him, any attempt to harm him would be met with kinetic military actions equal to an act of war. So bless Biden's heart. He has a lot to deal with as far as Ukraine, the Ukrainian war, and as far as what's going on with Iran and Trump. And so all these questions, make you wonder, well, Lord, which one of these things could be what drives the United States to be involved in a small war. Small meaning short. I need to specify that. Small meaning it's not going to last that long. It's going to take place, but not that long. And so here are the three things that this is just me thinking back on the news and what's happening now. And of course, anything that announces that the United States is going to be involved in any type of war, that's going to be hard on the markets. That's going to bring about, in my mind, that market crash. And so I don't know. I'm just thinking. I'm just putting the pieces together. But to me, that would be a reason for us to see a market crash take place, because we're already dropping and falling here and there whenever things come out about what's happening in these other countries. And so again, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, that does drive a market. So going back to this diagram with June 27th, the banana dream being skipped, so did God allow this June 27th date to be skipped to bring me back to the fact that the U.S. will be involved in a small or short war. That's the question. And then here again, the U.S. involvement in war equals a market crash. Now let's move forward to the other skip dream. And this was the dream of me inquiring about the October 17th date. And in this dream, I was like, why October 17th? It's almost as if in that dream, I'm where I am now asking about the October 17th date. Which is kind of weird, because before what happened on October the 15th, all the while, my conviction was already in October 17th that he's shown me this in a market crash dream. I've seen this date in a market crash dream. Yeah, this is it. And so for me to be questioning that date, not the colors, but that date, puts me where I am now, because I'm inquiring of God about this October 17th date. And in that dream, the person remains silent. So I have to also take that into consideration as well. But until anything else, I will continue to ask the question, God, why October 17th? Now I want to do the same thing, follow the same steps with the Bruno pie. Again, we're waiting to see what this fourth quarter date is going to be. That's what we've been praying about. Again, looking at the August 19th on the right side of the screen, you see, again, I have it labeled in the same way: blue 40, yellow 40, red 60. And again, the blue 40, I counted backwards instead of forward because both 40s will yield the same date. Moving forward from the yellow 40 days from October 19th will give us September 28th. Moving forward from August 19th, 60 days will give us November 27th. Well, Lord, July 10th is not July the 11th. And so again, God began to just say next day. The next day will be July the 11th. But let's go back to July 10th. On July 10th, remember, I said that was the day that I noticed the red and yellow chairs. This was following reading the article about China sending troops to Belarus. And so by the time July 10th rolled around and I saw these two chairs, my mind was thinking again about China. I'm seeing red and yellow a lot. And because I was seeing all of this red and yellow happening within this short range of time, starting with the banana dream and ending with me inquiring in a dream about this October 17th date, now I've been getting to tie these two dreams together, and the message behind both of these things. It still brings to mind this thing about war and the U.S. being involved in war in some way. So it appears that these two yellow and red dreams, these two dates, are giving a message of a soon coming war with the U.S. being involved, a small war or one that will last a short period of time. So when it comes to red and yellow lean both ways. I believe that red and yellow does have something to do with October 17th date. I don't believe that it would have been on all those balls for no reason. And then it leans towards war. And with war, as far as the U.S., it brings about the market crash. Also observe the dates that was derived. The two dates that I saw was November 14th and November 27th. And the reason there are two dates there is because one is a Julian calendar date and one is our calendar date. So these are dates to pray about, dates that are based on all of the new findings. And something that I feel that I now need to ask God is about what particular category does this date fall in? And the reason why I say that is because there are dreams where I've been given an actual date. There are dreams that I've derived dates from based on people's birthdays. And there are dates that we've been praying about, dates that derived off of what we've been doing as far as research and just looking into all these dreams, trying to understand what it is that God is showing us. And I've noticed that some of these dates have to do with war events, things going on with Israel. Some of these dates have fallen on things to do with crypto, specifically XRP and Lunic. XRP and Lunic has been following this market crash timeline and the things that we've been putting together based on these dreams. XRP and Lunic has showed up in a timely fashion with dates correlating and due dates correlating with the dates that we've been praying about. Also, the August 6th date, that date was not given. I didn't see that date in a dream, but because of a person's birthday, that date was derived. And so now I'm seeing these three categories so far where all these dates fall. On November 6th or the 7th, which we were talking about in the last video, we saw the market hit record highs during that time. That was right after President Trump was elected as president again, 47th president. And so when that happened, the market hit all-time highs in the stock market, in the crypto market. We had Bitcoin moving like crazy, Shiba Inu, Doge, everything was moving. But I'm recognizing that these dates that we're praying about and the dates that God has been giving us, it all falls within one of these three categories. These categories, as far as I can see now. And so I have to ask the question, God, which category does these dates, particular dates fall in? Like, for example, the 14th of November and the 27th of November. Is that for the market crash? Is that for a crypto date? Something's going to happen as far as crypto? Is that a war date? And so this is something new, another question, Lord, another question. And so for this reason, I have to say, okay, God, I have to take a step back. Although we're ultimately praying about this fourth quarter market crash date, there's things in particular, things in the in-between that you want us to know as well, and you want to set us up for as well. And along the lines of the markets hitting all-time high, this is an opportunity for us to take a little bit off the top and put it into buy limit orders. So when the market crash happens, we have the money now to get set up and be prepared for this market crash. And so me seeing God allowing the markets to run up the way it's been doing, even now, great opportunity to take a little bit off the top and to set those low buy limit orders for whatever cryptocurrency God has put on your heart to invest in. So that is all I have for this video. I pray that something has been said to help you guys better understand where we are and kind of let you into my thinking and this process of what God is doing as far as getting us to a place where we're able to see what that fourth quarter market crash date is, as long as it's God's will. He said it's going to happen in the fourth quarter. And I'm believing for this year, fourth quarter, simply because one has already happened this year in the third quarter. And so, as I said before, it's like the runway is running out, and I'm not rushing God by no means. I'm just trying to understand if He's shown us something. Again, it's for us to search those things out, to be in prayer, to be mindful that God is not in the business of tricking us and trapping us and frustrating us, but we do these things with pleasure. We search these things out, as the Word of God say, and we do it with a mindset that is a part of what God has called me to do. I can only speak for me when it comes down to searching these things out, because they are my dreams. But I want to again share this experience of and how God is putting all this together on our behalf. And so that is all that I have for this video. Until the next one, God bless.